Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, I want to welcome all of you to Ohio Exopolitics. I just received a translation from Larry Driscoll of ContactReport 72, which I don't think is available yet on the Future of Mankind site. So I converted this into an MP3 and thought I would share it with you. It's only 15 minutes long. And then after that, I'm going to play a very interesting clip about previous personalities. It's a translation of Marianne Eulinger. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And it's a translation of some of Billy's work as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. And we'll be back on at 8 p.m. Eastern this evening with our Sunday evening Billy Myers show.
72 degrees D. Contact of February 3, 1977, from the Pleiadian Pleasure Contact Reports Block 2 book, pages 417-422. German to English translation by Larry Driscoll. Date, July 31, 2014. Semyas, you are 40 years old today, for which I and all of us offer the best wishes to you. Billy, thank you. However, I am not here for that reason. Here, I have brought with me a new map of Switzerland, in order to mark in the earthquake zones. Semyas, I want to remind you today about this because time begins to press. You must yourself slowly try to endeavor to find a suitable place where you can secure yourselves. Already in 1975 I spoke about a suitable center for you about which you must now seek for yourselves. Look here in this screen, these delineations. Render them onto your map while we talk to one another. Here, this zone contains the mountain block, which is suitable for a settlement, if you do not settle yourselves here in these shaded zones. These here, mark them as primary zones, because in the future they are extremely strongly at risk of severe earth-shaking changes, while here, these secondary zones are those into which you are not allowed to settle. Here, this is a volcano region, and the zone here around it is severely endangered in the future if the volcano again awakens to activity, which is to say, will certainly not occur very soon. You should absolutely avoid this long-stretching zone here, because this, like nearly all flat land in the north of Switzerland, will be destroyed by possible later atomic fire during war actions, if the ancient prophecies should be fulfilled, which however is to hope that this does not happen. There in the north, here in the west and there in the south and in the middle island are the most secure zones for you, as well as for the future. Do settle somewhere down there and then build a center. The most secure location, which you can choose, lies here between both of these secondary quake zones and this volcano zone, although however you have to remain in this narrow channel between these zones. Here, this is also the location, which is predestined for the center, and where also a suitable building and necessary grounds exists, as you indeed already know for years. Billy, you speak very easily about this, because this means huge difficulties for us. First is the problem of the object and the site which we first must find, and second then the problem of the finances. The suitable object might in fact surely cost up to 500,000 francs, and from where we should get hold of this capital, this is a riddle to me. Semyon's reasoning will smooth the path for you, and besides we will also be sending out reason-bearing impulses to all of those who decisively want to take part in this, in order to take care of the financial matter. We will be sending out impulses of truth, from which they will quite correctly recognize the truth and the necessity of the undertaking. Billy, only then if this turns out well. Semyon, there will be no coercion wielded because all, through their own reasoning and their own wills, have to make the decision. Furthermore, every individual works for his own evolution, not just in this life but already for the next rebirths as well. Many of your group will find their next incarnations as new personalities in the center as built by you, which will be steered with our and your own help as well as by the center built by you, for which we will give you the instructions. Also, we will monitor the building of the center into appropriate form, give you detailed instructions, and stand by your side with good advice. Billy, you speak calmly about great things, girl. Am I allowed at least to know who will have the next incarnations in the center, and in what period? Semyon, surely I can mention some to you. Some of the present group will spend an extremely short time in the beyond area, before they come to the center and join into the group as other personalities through a rebirth into physical form. The first of the present members will again incarnate as another person into the group between the years 2012 and 2025, others between 2033 and 2036, and the rest between the years 2035 and 2072, always assuming that everything fulfills itself. The reason for this rapid succession is that the work is not allowed to lie fallow and must be continued forward so that the knowledge, despite all coming confusion and maliciousness, slowly spreads over your world, because only as a result will those of the enormously further growing humanity grasp the knowledge and be guided onto the path of true evolution. Moreover, the tasks of the individuals are very different, and often hardly they themselves recognize them. However, they are important and far-reaching, as in the future as already in the present as well, even if the individual is still not able to recognize this, as I already said. Billy, however, you leave out the names of those who incarnate again so soon. Yet, you said that you are allowed to mention some names. Semyon, surely, despite a desertion of the group and the mission, and despite nasty betrayal among others, the first will be Olga, Armada, Claire and Elsa, who again will incarnate as female life forms, if all is actually fulfilled, which however partly is in question. Their names and personalities, however, as you know, will no longer be the same, but such of a special type, which today on Earth would sound strange and which I am not officially allowed to mention. So, however, it will also be with all of the others, with Engelbert, who again will appear as a male life form between 2053 and 2066, when at the same also Margareth will incarnate as male life form, as well as also Herbert, however always assuming that everything fulfills itself, and then as new personalities. Between 2065 and 2072 then Jacobus, Marcel, Calliope, Conrad, Hans, Paula and Polly appear again, in addition to several further persons, whose names are unknown to you, who however in the course of the near future and next few years will still come to meet you. Also, leaving and betrayal committing group members are also in the next life with new personalities, not to be ruled out, and who again will confront the group and the mission, if all finds its correction, which however is often in question. Billy, this is really quite interesting. However, you state nothing about my littleness, which will certainly be of interest to all. Semyon, but you know of this. Billy, of course, but it would be more interesting if you explained it. Semyon, you know that regarding this I am not officially allowed to explain everything. Billy, I know this, but can you at least tell just what you are allowed to explain. Yes, surely, you know how and at what point in time you will depart from all others unexpectedly and unassumedly from the worldly living area, and you know it is not allowed to be spoken about this. However, so also it is not allowed to be explained at what point in time you will appear again. This precaution rests in the knowledge that an idol would be made of you if the dates would come to be known. Only is allowed to be known that you will be, in around 800 years, again the center point of your innermost group, as this already existed in earlier times on various occasions, and also exists today. As you, however, have already explained in earlier times, you wanted your mission to be fulfilled up to the end. Consequently, you, respectively, your spirit form for the next few millennia cannot once again stay away prolonged years in the beyond area, but in rapid form repeatedly at various locations on Earth you incarnate, resp. It incarnates, in order to fulfill tasks with other people and races of your world, whereby you certainly as new personality also will appear again in contact with your now existing group, which indeed will further spread itself. The dates of these contact happenings and of your rebirth I am not allowed to mention, as you know. The members belonging to your group will recognize you with each appearance, as well as these themselves amongst one another. Certain precautions should also be taken about this, which I will give you later, however, which are not officially allowed to be known. I am not allowed to explain more in official form, and likewise not are you, outside of your closest group circle, even if you want to. Billy, I know this. Thanks for your information. Now, however, still a further question in connection to this. There are quite many who belong loosely to our group, our descendants as well. What about them? Yes, all of your descendants come again sooner or later to the group, partly already by the year 2067, because some will already soon leave this world, in order to undertake certain tasks with rebirths as new personalities after a really short absence. The still looser members belonging to the group, as you call them, will incarnate again on different occasions already by the year 2065, partly in your center, yet the majority outside, such however that they first will come to the group, only after they have become independent. Billy, this should be enough information. So, now I am finished with the marking. Is it correct? Yes, surely, only you should draw in later all of these zones according to their values separately on suitable maps. Billy, okay, I will do this. However, now a question. How old is with Jacobus, as I indeed have already said to you, before you landed? Can you, when flying away, perhaps once again allow them to hear the sound of the ship? Yes, surely. Billy, good. Thank you. But, how is it with him concerning the incarnation? Also Dolphy, Helga, Mara and Martin would interest me. Renato and Mariella as well. Yes, Mariella and Helga will again be female life forms and incarnate between 2068 and 2071. Mara changes to a male life form, while Martin, Dolphy and Renato retain their gender. They all appear again as new personalities first after the year 2110, as in fact also all of the others. Billy, and where will they see again the light of the world? Yes, Mariella and Helga will under certain circumstances be in the center, while all of the others are to be outside of it, but will eventually come to the group, although some of them will be born thousands of kilometers away. Billy, thanks for the information. There would then still be Playa and Guido. What about them? Yes, are you thinking here about Ank? Billy, naturally. Yes, both will be born outside of the center. The girl after the year 2090 and the man after the year 2081, after which he then again finds the final path to the group. Consequently, Guido will not be far from the center and comes to the group, while with Ank the matter is still not clear. However, there are the new personalities to consider. Billy, why not? I mean Ank. Semyas, she herself is still not clear in regard to certain things. However, she also might stay away from the center in a manner that she only occasionally appears there, because she will not leave this world there, because she soon goes another way. Bilia, so that's it. Is it that, in departing from life in the center, it is then necessary for certain things? Semyas, surely, because in order to be able to incarnate in the center there is needed a certain help of each individual. This is connected to the Sahar center, which requires that each determined day a certain action and a certain thought process must be carried out by each individual group member, as a result of which first the aim-directed incarnation with the destination of the rebirth in the center location or in the nearby surrounds can be successful. Bilio, now I understand. The intended Sahar center is then actually a vibration and radiation center, like with some energies and crystals, etc., isn't it? Semyas, surely, it is so. Billy, then, I know about it. Something similar I know already from the Himalayan monastery, where certain gurus, true masters, determine their birthplace as new personalities. It is an incarnations. Semyas, stop, for you know that you are officially not allowed to mention this. Billy, I apologize. It was not intended. Semyas, this should be enough for today, as well. Billy, okay. I am quite tired. Some sleep would truly do me good. Live well and receive still quite dear greetings from all to you. Semyas, quite dear thanks. I am very pleased with all and also pay my heartfelt greetings and love to everyone. Billy, okay, this I will not forget. Goodbye, girl, hopefully you do come quite soon again. Semyas, if you wish it, then you can call me, but you know this. Currently, I am not so very much burdened with work, consequently I again can turn myself a little to your wishes. Billy, wonderful, really dear, thanks for this. Then goodbye, and come back soon. Semyas, goodbye.
That was a very, very interesting contact report. I have another clip here that you might find interesting. It talks about previous personalities. It's a translation of some of Billy's work by Marianne Eulinger. I hope I pronounced her last name right. Excuse me. This also is just over the top interesting. It's going to really require some in-depth study, but hope you enjoy it.
If you think about the reason why we are responsible for the mission, then you will also certainly think about the enormous knowledge or even the wisdom of our predecessor personalities at the time of the Great Oaths. The big question is, where is it all now? In a small toward horizon, which simply means overview but sounds more sweeping and extensive, I would like to show you where this knowledge can be found. After death, the spirit form and consciousness block pass over into their respective levels in order to process the accumulated data. I will omit the process of the spirit form, although this naturally is just as important, because the spirit form determines the exact time point of the incarnation of the consciousness block, though in some ways its different processes, as I see it, are easier to understand. When the consciousness block enters the overall consciousness block, which is external and not in our head, everything that was ever begun but not entirely completed is settled in a matter of seconds. You mustn't envisage this as some tremendous feat. Compared to the material life, it would be similar to someone remembering that he forgot to say thank you and no longer gets around to doing so. This is then simply added. Once that happened, the content of the consciousness block is downloaded into the storage banks of the overall consciousness block. All data in reality, these are impulses of the consciousness block programs, such as consciousness, memory of the consciousness and of the subconsciousness, ego/self, subconsciousness, mentality, character, personality, thoughts, feelings, psyche, unconscious forms, senses, etc., pass into the storage banks of the overall consciousness block. After the impulses are discharged into the storage banks of the overall consciousness block, the consciousness block is completely dissolved into neutral energy, which means it becomes pure creational energy. From this creational energy, the overall consciousness block then programs the consciousness block programs all over again. At first, everything is empty, only the foundation is laid. And now here is what all of you have been waiting for. The essence of all knowledge, experience and wisdom from our predecessor personalities is loaded into the new memory of the subconsciousness, which means the highest value of every single consciousness form is transferred from the storage banks of the overall consciousness block into the new memory of the subconsciousness. Everything else is empty. Only the consciousness block programs are existent, however in a completely neutral form. The former, enormous knowledge of our predecessor personalities is therefore hidden as essence in the memory of our subconsciousness, and in detail as data impulses in all the external storage banks. From there, it can be activated through our conscious searching and inquiring, because only by intercepting inspirations of the subconsciousness, and by consciously and continuously working with them, do the involved consciousness forms or consciousness levels in the memory of the consciousness evolve and create corresponding update. Naturally, all people have the same functional programs in the consciousness block. What distinguishes one consciousness block from another after their development is the data impulses in the memory of the subconsciousness. The brain cells or brain impulses of the embryo prior to the 21st day after conception merely contain the chemistry balance, which means the innate material brain functions and what is inherited from our parents. That is the hardware. If our parents were extremely belief-oriented or, for example, sport fanatics, then our temporal lobes and posterior frontal lobes harbor these unpleasant impulses, from which we have to free ourselves again through our own hard efforts during the course of life. The memory of the subconsciousness only contains facts about knowledge and what has been experienced. It is not responsible for passing on contents of belief, because belief cannot be experienced. Belief is based on imagination. However, if we allow ourselves to be hassled by religions and all sorts of fanaticism during our lifetime, we too may fall prey to a belief or fanaticism. We may also possibly tap the existing storage bank records of our predecessor personalities and thus gain inspirations of our subconsciousness in this regard, which we accept as hard facts. If that is the case, data enters the appropriate subconsciousness forms or subconsciousness levels, from where it passes into the consciousness via the unconscious. In principle, it is the same process with us former old Lyrians, who get impulses from our storage banks and appropriately put them into practice, at least those who recognize their responsibility. The body itself as well as the consciousness are animated by an impulsating spirit energy, just as a plant is. Impulsating or impulsation are new words, with the meaning equals something goes inside, something develops. The software incarnates in the form of the consciousness block together with the reincarnating spirit form on the 21st day after conception, whereupon the heart of the embryo starts to beat and the development of the basic character begins. This means that after the reincarnation of the spirit form and the incarnation of the consciousness block into the embryo, the subconsciousness exists in the form of impulsations in our brain, as do all the other consciousness block programs such as consciousness, subconsciousness, memory, mentality, psyche, personality, self/ego, thoughts, feelings, senses, unconscious forms, etc. Everything in the entire universe is composed of moving impulses or impulsations, including all cells, merely the consistency of each is different. From the very moment the spirit form reincarnates and the consciousness block incarnates into the embryo is correctly called a foetus, although this is not yet known to medical experts. They still think the embryo phase lasts 3 months instead of only 3 weeks or 21 days. chaos rules nowhere, not in the storage banks, nor in the memory, nor in the consciousness forms. Everything is meticulously regulated. In creation, law and regulation prevail. Undetectable things in the memory of our consciousness have to do with the rubbish we deposit there continuously via incomplete lines of thought and feelings, and not with an unstructured organization.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this important information. It's quite ironic that it seems to have followed a parallel theme here, totally unplanned by me. I didn't realize how much the information in these two clips would intersect. Certainly this information is very important and would require a lot more study to really digest it. So I think that this evening we will look at some of this information in a little more depth. I appreciate all of you that have been listening to these shows. I hope you're finding them to be helpful in terms of your own spiritual growth, your own life. I'll be back at 8 p.m. this evening. Have a good afternoon.